Hey everyone, Corey here. Today we're going to do things a little different. No guitar, no flashy intro stuff. I just wanted to take a few minutes, a short video, to kind of tell my Eddie Van Halen story. I know a lot of other people have been doing that, and I didn't want to do it that day because I wasn't in a place to do it. And everyone else was doing them, so I thought, you know what, I'll ride the weekend out before I decide to take a few minutes and talk about what Eddie Van Halen meant to me. Strangely enough, I've seen a lot of great guitar players die over the years, all of whom have a personal effect just because of that musical connection, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, guys like that. But for whatever reason, Eddie has hit me kind of a little harder than most do. I've always been a fan, of course. And a little part of me saw this coming after reading some of the comments. I mean, I not saw this coming, but David Lee Roth's made a few comments over the last few months, including some on Joe Rogan's show. I'll try to find that to link here. And that kind of insinuated Van Halen was done and didn't want to elaborate on why, but it sort of left you with suspicions that Eddie was ill again. But I was at work the other day. I drive for Carvana during the day, so I deliver cars to people at their houses. And I had hopped out of the truck to do a delivery. I ran back to grab a folder out of the truck because I forgot to walk it up to the door with me. And a coworker had messaged and said, Eddie Van Halen is dead. And I had to run right back out to the customer. And I was just kind of befuddled. I was really beside myself with the whole thing. I wasn't sure what to think, how to react. All I said, I think I texted back just, whoa. So I went out, finished with my customer, got that taken care of, and then came back to the truck. And sat there and got a little choked up. He's one of those guys who's always been on my list of people I need to see the next time I get the chance. Because, I knowing his history and knowing how volatile Van Halen has been over the last 20 years, if there was ever an opportunity, I wanted to make sure and get it. And never did. And that's okay. It's disappointing. More than anything, this is sad deal. He and his son Wolfie, always seemed to be so close, like best buddies. And the truth is that reminds me a lot of me and my dad. I mean, we share the guitar passion, and Dad's always been a musician, not Eddie Van Halen level, obviously, but that same connection that I see in Eddie and Wolfie reminds me of what I've always seen in my dad and I. And it's something that kind of hit close to home. I was left as much kind of feeling bad for Wolfie, to be frank. And truth is, I just didn't know how to react. So much good music. I remember the first time I heard Eddie Van Halen, I was a different kid. I should preface this with that. I have an adrenal disease that has been with me since birth. But as a result, there are phases of life that I went through really young. So at like age 6, I had my first drum kit and my first guitar, and was taking lessons, like actively trying to play music. Not with the dedication I wish I'd have had at that point, but you're a 6-year-old. And I used to go through, my dad had a massive vinyl collection, and I'd go through all that, and I remember the first time I found a vinyl copy of Van Halen 1. And I guess maybe I'd heard the name, I don't know, I was young, like I said, even the memory about it is pretty sketchy. But I remember taking it out and sticking it on Dad's old Pioneer turntable, and hearing "Running with the Devil" for the first time, just that thump bass line, and and how it all came together, those first chords, and David Lee Roth, and being like, whoa, this is different. Because I grew up in a house at that phase in my life and phase in my parents' life. They went through a little country music spurt, but they got past that. Don't worry. And we were more of an Allman Brothers, Leonard Skinner kind of a house. I grew up on Southern rock pretty heavily. They were big into that, and that's fine. But I totally, when I first heard that album, I remember being like, what in the hell is this? This is crazy. And I loved it. I remember hearing Eruption that first time, and Ain't Talking About Love. You really got me. Those first few songs on that album just it gave me just a wow moment. And instantly, you know why it is people talk about Eddie the way they talk about Eddie. It's difficult now for young people, I think, to understand. Because, well, I should preface this by saying that I was born in 1980, so the first chunk of Van Halen I kind of missed. So, I mean, I went back and enjoyed it, but as far as being alive for that. However, the thing people forget is that Eddie's techniques we hear in music every day now. Every band, you're hearing, palm mutes and legato stuff and playing with taps and whatnot. And the first guy to really use a whammy bar. And what I think a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their brain around is that stuff wasn't happening before that album. I mean, maybe, sure, there are a couple people who maybe were tapping back in the 50s or, a rare use of some of those things. But there is so much musical stuff that Eddie just brought straight to the forefront and blew the world's mind with. Other guitar players were looking like, what in the hell is this guy doing? And it was a fair question, He was a young kid. Apparently in the LA music scene, he was pretty well known before they got famous. Like, other guitarists knew exactly who you were talking about when you said Eddie Van Halen. And it's just tough. But when I look back at some of those songs, man, it's like the soundtrack to my childhood. Especially, and I know there's a big debate over, Van Halen, Van Hagar. The truth is, I love them both. While my first introduction was with David Lee Roth, the steady radio play at the time that was coming from Van Halen was all Van Hagar. So I fell in love with both. I really did, and I still have a soft spot in my heart for both ends of Van Halen. That's why this idea that you can only like one is just beyond me. The truth is, there's fantastic music out of both. The Roth side is that raw energy Van Halen that is very different. But, if you go back and read some books about them, you'll see that, towards 1984, Eddie was taking a more polished turn. He wanted to introduce other instruments, other styles. He was into, that's why that synth is so heavy on 1984, which turned out to be their biggest album ever. That they were taking that transition. So I don't think you can say that Sammy came along and changed Van Halen. I really feel like musically that is just the direction that they were headed. That was their trajectory. And the fact is 5150 is one of my all-time favorite albums. 5150 and Van Halen 1 are probably my two favorite Van Halen albums. There's good stuff and hot spots on all of them, but those two albums are very special to me. I remember being a young boy camping and taking 5150 with me. I carried a jam box everywhere I went. I thought it was cool to have it on my shoulder. I didn't realize that was 15 years before then. But I'd carry it on my shoulder, or I'd just tag it around with me. If I was going down to the beach, I had that jam box. If we were going down to just hang out on a pavilion down at the campground, I'd take that. We'd have it sitting there. And I remember a full summer listening to songs like Summer Nights, Best of Both Worlds, Dreams. Oh, Dreams. That's such a great song, so inspirational. It really makes you think about your life and kind of put things into perspective where you really want to take that next chance. And that was very special to me. I hate that there was so much weird blood toward them all in the end. David didn't like Sammy, the band wanted to do something with both, and that became a big catfight. Everybody argues over which one started. The truth is, man, frontmen have egos, and obviously these guys aren't any exception to that. And it's just a shame that all didn't work out. A best of both worlds kind of tour would have been fantastic. It really would have. But in the end, it's never going to happen now. That's just all there is to it. I'm sure if you catch Roth's solo shows, he'll be blasting out Van Halen stuff. I know if you catch Sammy's, he is. I saw Sammy in the Circle, which is him, Michael Anthony, and some other dudes. I saw them last year, and half the set was 80s Van Halen music. It was fantastic. So, there's still plenty of ways to enjoy it. We have just a mountain of music for us to all sit back and enjoy and hold near and dear to pass down to our kids. And I think that's what we can do, hold that music close to our hearts, remember the good times, and be glad that we had them. My heart goes out to his wife Jamie, their little puppy, to Valerie, to Wolfgang, to all of their families, to the Van Halen family. Even though there was some odd blood between a lot of those guys, I know this has to hit them all very close to home and hurt. So to anyone and everyone, I just give you my blessings and wish the best for you. But thanks for the good times, Eddie.